Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 MAS Climate Science and Policy Symposium here at Scripps. Really excited to be here with all of you and all of you who are joining us remotely right now also. It's certainly been a very interesting year, and we've been through a lot together. First up, before I make any comments, I want to thank UCSD and Scripps leadership, Margaret Lyman, Peter Franks, Denise Darling, and the entire RISA, the entire leadership team and staff at UCSD and Scripps for making this year possible under extraordinarily challenging circumstances. And I think it's a major victory that we not only have successfully gotten to this point, but that we had a really awesome year, learned a lot, engaged a lot. And we're here during a very exciting and dynamic time in climate and really in our country and our world's history. You know, we arrived here in July, and we were looking at news headlines about phase 2 or phase 3 trials of this vaccine and what the efficacy is, not knowing if that was going to work. And hundreds, if not thousands of Americans, our fellow Americans, were dying every single day. And we had a government that wasn't necessarily committed to assuring the safety and security of the country and the health of the people. And we had a very tumultuous election in this country and a transition of power that was not smooth. But in this last calendar year, 2021, we have a very effective COVID vaccine in this country. I believe 303 million doses, not people, have been administered. We're now sending hundreds of millions of doses of the COVID vaccine around the world. And our economy, albeit maybe a little too dependent on coal and fossil fuels right now, is recovering. And the American way of life, the freedom, the autonomy that we all love, it's still here. And what was gone, the void that existed for 4 years, the void of leadership, the void of empathy, that void is gone. And we are now able to pursue a climate and energy policy that's not only consistent with our values, but potentially consistent with climate change not being something that eliminates us, right? There are policies being tested, being established. There are actions in private industry. There are partnerships between universities and private companies to explore all sorts of exciting, innovative breakthrough technologies, from autonomous cars, hydrogen, enhancements and improvements in battery technology, offshore wind finally being accepted as part of the solution. The pieces are starting to come together where we can see a path to a future that doesn't end badly. But it's going to be hard. Decarbonization is going to be very hard. Switching from a coal and ultimately natural gas, stable, dense fuel source to a supply controlled by intermittence, right, and stored is going to be very challenging. But we have the will, and with funding of R&D and adoption of current innovation and acceptance of the reality of the problem by more and more Americans, we're headed in the right direction. And we're also re-engaging with the world, because this is a global problem, right? And our leadership on this issue is going to be extremely important, as will the leadership of many other countries. And we're approaching that strategically and smartly at this point. And I think we can all feel that in July, we arrived here in a moment of uncertainty. And this is still a very, very uncertain world, and things are changing very, very fast. But that candle of hope is absolutely burning in my pocket right now, like it hasn't been in a long time. I'm optimistic and hopeful for what's to come. And I just want to say specifically about this group, you guys have done an outstanding job being committed to this work, committed to the climate problem, working so hard through a year that for all of us, right, whether or not we want to talk about it, was hard emotionally, in terms of us personally, our relationships, our families, our work, everything was hard. This is something, something unique we went through. And we spent this year that was so difficult. We spent this year doing something really hard and accomplishing something together. And I learned more from you guys than I've learned from a group of people since I don't know when. But this was really an exceptional experience for me, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to know everybody in this room, and I'm so grateful that all of you in the audience will get to see these presentations by these excellent students. I divided the program into 4 sections this year, right? We'll start with clean energy solutions, and then we'll move through and ultimately finish with a cluster of topics associated with environmental justice. But without much more of me, I want to introduce our first group of speakers, and we'll introduce them one by one. But our first theme is going to be clean energy solutions. And here we'll be talking about offshore wind, sustainable aviation fuels, and hydrogen, all important pieces of that transition to a clean energy economy that's absolutely needed to fight the existential threat of climate change.